The temple opens in 10 seconds.
Hello, and this is a quick replay analysis of a game that I played Nova in. And in the enemy team, they also have a very experienced Nova as well. And so what we're going to do is just take a look at how to actually play Nova, what to do when you have enemy Novas on the enemy team, and how they actually play versus different builds, because I have a very specific build. I have a very strong sniper build. So the first skill I purchase is Ambush Snipe, which is why I always wait for someone to attack first and then I fire. It adds 20% of damage on all of my attacks for the first 5 seconds. So if I drop a pinning shot and then I fire my snipe shot, then I'll be able to maximize my damage. What you have here is the enemy Nova. She's very experienced. She actually drops her clone before firing, so she's always getting out of cover and dropping a clone, which is very clever. I actually find this is not a very strong build because the clone is actually really expensive mana-wise, so you're always spending your time away from the battlefield. And as Nova, you should really be at the front. You should be scouting, you should be looking, you should be watching and providing vision for your team. What this Nova is doing is that she's firing into the mobs without actually waiting for backup, and spends time actually going onto an attack without a tank. And this is not exactly a smart play, especially at the very beginning of the game, because Nova is really squishy. Nova has almost very little attack damage in the first few levels, and so she should really be just kiting, spending time looking at vision. Like, for example, I'm there just kiting. Their Nova is spending time actually fighting the temple, which is not exactly the smartest thing to be doing. Since I looked at my team and everything's fine there, I've decided that I'm just going to kite this, and I'm not going to fire. I'm just going to try and stay cloaked as best I can. Obviously I won't be able to do that properly, but I'm doing it so I could maximize the temple. And if there was someone else there, I'd be looking for ways to attack them, and then harass them and getting them off the temple, just making their job a little bit harder. Notice how I've run away because Illidan and the Nova has arrived. I've spent some time dropping some clones and then hitting Nova, running away until the team arrives. So by now I have upgraded to Gathering Power. The enemy Nova actually hasn't done this. She's actually chosen a pinning shot, which is a taser round, which is a good strategy if you're fighting one-on-one, but because I've decided to do a very strong sniper build, I'm reliant on my team to do most of the damage, and then I finish them off. Just like that, Illidan took a whole lot of damage, I took a whole lot of damage, but I was able to finish off Illidan without him jumping away. And that final snipe was from my snipe skill that killed Nazebo. So the reason why I chose Gathering Power is because if I just hang around my team, even if I'm not doing anything, and I see, you know, enemy kill here and there, I'm actually gaining 2% extra damage. So on top of the 20% that I get from Ambush Snipe, and I also get a maximum of 15% extra damage, depending on the amount of kills, and it resets every time I die. So you're basically looking at a potential of 35% extra damage on top of everything you're doing if you let go of all of your skills at the same time. So the pinning shot and the snipe skill, and then any other skill after that. Their enemy Nova is actually spending a lot of time actually respawning because she's not looking for her teammates. She's actually trying to look for fights and looking for weak enemies. What I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to support my team by going up and down, looking for weak enemies as well, but I'm spending my time providing vision. I'm actually just standing around trying to see where the weakest parts are and then running towards it. I'm actually spending most of my time also looking at the minimap, trying to see what I can provide vision for, what may need to be revealed, things like that. Their enemy Nova seems to be more combat focused, dropping clones a lot, trying to egg on the enemy, but you can see there that it's not exactly super effective if we have lots of people with AoE. So Mr. Black and 8-Bit, they have lots of AoE attacks. 8-Bit is actually a tank DPS, so it's jumping in and out of battle, which can be tough to fight against as Nova. So what you've got there is Nova's having a lot of trouble staying alive every time she reveals herself to either Mr. Black, who plays Jaina, or the new character who's 8-Bit is playing, which is half werewolf, half human. So what you've got here is another team battle that's about to come up, which is going to be a big fight around the temple. Their enemy Nova is actually looking for vision as well, which is interesting because this is the first time I've seen the enemy Nova actually playing like this. So back here where we are, they're trying to take the temple. I'm just supporting my teammate here. And we take out their enemy Illidan. I leave Nazeeba alone. It's just no point chasing after it. And their enemy Nova is also trying to support the team, but it's not going after the objective. The whole point of Nova, and when it comes to these temple games, is they should be dropping objectives in terms of harassment. Just standing on the point. If they get revealed, they drop their clone, they attack the squishier enemy, so then they're running away, things like that. Because there's only 2 of us there, and she ends up getting attacked and killed while running away. And if you're gonna die, you might as well die trying to take the point, or just hearthstoning out and getting out in the first place, because it's kind of pointless if you think that you can't win that one. And so she spent most of the last minute or 2 just running around. So what we've got here is our team is just now taking most of the siege camps, and Nazeeba is out in the open. So I'm sticking by my tank. I pin shot, sniper shot, and then one last shot, and I miss. But that's kind of how you should be playing Nova, is waiting for someone to hit the target, and then dropping everything in one go. And we take out Tychus just like that, the same way I've done earlier, except this time Tychus was a little bit weaker. And this is a big team battle, and we've done really well. Their enemy Nova is didn't do a whole lot of support. In fact, she didn't drop much skills. In fact, she also drops the clone far too late. If you notice, I don't drop the clone too much. I'm trying to save all of my energy for emergency skills and spamming them when there are big team fights. And so here, this is where I try and take advantage of what's going on. But obviously, you know, enemy Nova runs to the safety of the temple. Now here I had triple tap, but I actually decided not to use it because triple tap goes through anything, even mobs, but it doesn't go through the walls, the gates, the towers, and the guard towers as well, or the temples. So that's a real downside, so which is why I decided to hold against it. But it's a super useful skill if you plan on trying to snipe someone in their own base. But I didn't take that chance because the triple tap skill has actually a 60-second cooldown, which is really painful. Okay, and their enemy Nova is now doing what I was originally doing, so I think she's trying to learn or trying to change tactic, which is trying to get into some kind of position in the enemy temple. She's trying to kite, do some damage, drop the clone. The enemy NPCs always go for the clone no matter what, even the bosses, etc. Now, I pick a bad fight. I had more HP, more damage than the Illidan, but I tried to run away instead of just stand my ground and fight. I tried to drop my triple tap in defense, but it didn't work out. So that's a bit of a shame, and we'll try not to do that same mistake next time. You can see that the enemy Nova is dropping clones, using Artanis to tank for her, and Nazeeba is providing some DPS, but she's not really doing a whole lot. Once you have at least two friendlies, 2 players fighting NPCs on the temple, Nova could just go away and just find another target. Nova's quite useless in temple holding, because all she can do is really just harass or provide a little bit of DPS. Because most of her damage, most of everything that she is useful, is her ultimate ability and her Q ability. And if she's not using them, and if she's out of mana, she is really useless. So here, we found Tannis was about half health, so I decided to chase after him and drop everything. I see the triple tap, and I try and respond in kind. I see that Nova's about halfway. I always use triple tap on anyone that's halfway. I do my best anyway. And I shoot her through that building because it's not one of the walls, it's not one of the guard towers or the towers itself. And we make a major push on this tower. It was pretty easy. And then we take the siege camp, and it's probably one of the, I think it's the second siege camp we took. So we're not playing a conservative game, we're actually playing a very aggressive game. We don't spend time trying to take camps, which probably could, in a future game, be a very bad thing, especially if the enemy team pushes camp really quickly. Especially if they know that they're going to lose certain team battles and they pull out and then they take a camp. It could put us on the back foot, so during these lull times we should really be taking camps. Now you can see the enemy Nova's chasing in. We lose this team fight, it's pretty bad. And they take out the enemy Vala. They can't take out the tank in our team. But they have a pretty interesting lineup in terms of how they want to fight. The enemy team keeps separating. The only time that they had some support was from Nova, so Nova is always a support kind of character. She's supposed to be always on the front, looking for enemies and waiting for the right shot, and then just disappearing as quickly as possible. Nova and I, the enemy Nova and I are actually chasing after the North Temple. We'll see what happens. She actually tries to kite, but decides just to only provide vision until Illidan shows up. Drops a clone, which I think is a waste of a clone. Should have stayed back and fired. I dropped my clone to try and distract Illidan because he's really scary at this level, at this moment in time. He's about to get his level 16. For my level 16 and my level 7, I use anti-armor shells and my triple tap for level 10. I chose headshot. The enemy Nova chooses double fake, which is it produces two clones at the same time, and they both travel in two different directions, which is really useful. However, the problem with that is it's only really good if you are with, say, another tank and you spend your time doing assault charges on objectives. Their enemy Nova is spending time like charging in, and it's not exactly useful if you don't have the support of your team. Double fake is really good for getting out, but I decided headshots are really useful because on top of gathering power where you get extra damage for the kills, even if you don't make the kill yourself, you're just hanging around other people who are killing. That means if you're technically not doing anything but you're nearby, this one's a good shot. We take it to Zebo as I was aiming for Nova. But gathering power, you get not only extra energy, extra damage, but with headshot at level 16, you actually get 4 seconds off your cooldown from the same kills. Now here I know where Nova is, I try to coax her out, and I keep my eye on her, and I take her out even though that she uses her double fake. So that's the downside with double fake, is that if you have someone watching a Nova and they know exactly where they are, if you just have auto attack, you will follow the enemy Nova, the real one, before they fire double fake, and then after double fake you're still following the Nova that you originally targeted. So it's not exactly the most useful skill, I think, personally, and so headshot, having the ability to reduce triple tap from 60 seconds down to, say, 40 seconds or even 30 seconds just by hanging around your team, makes you not only a good Nova player, but also a really effective one, because you're constantly firing off that triple tap or the precision strike if you choose precision strike. I'm not a big fan of precision strike because it requires either lots of NPCs that you want to, or mobs that you want to try and take out, so you become a mob killer. But I don't think Nova's really that great of a mob killer. It's really good for team fights on temples, so if you have like an entire team, 2 teams fighting over one temple, you could drop Precision Strike and actually give your team the edge. But I've personally found that that situation doesn't come up enough, and so attacking an enemy Nova, attacking an enemy assassin with triple tap, or taking down a damaged tank is far more useful than waiting around for a team battle or an AoE. And the delay is still kinda sucky. At least with triple tap, you can stay in the shadows and fire and then run away. Here we lose this team battle. It doesn't turn out well, mainly because I revealed myself a little bit too early, and then I got wounded in a whole lot of AoE, so I wasn't even targeted then. And we'll see what happens here. We got Illidan taking the middle. Now we have the other temple, so we're doing a whole lot of damage on the enemy towers, which is really, really useful. Illidan is still having trouble holding onto their tower, which is really great. The enemy Tychus is doing his job, but not doing exactly enough DPS against a really, really tough tank. So right now it's just waiting for the other teams to show up. Now both Novas have shown up because we both died around the same time. Now I'm going for objective because A, we need vision, we need bodies on the floor, and their enemy Nova is going for kills because she's aiming for where the enemy tower is actually attacking, the enemy temple. So after she sees the Jaina, our team's Jaina, she tries to follow, and she's just way too late. I drop a triple tap on one of their tanks, take them out. I hang around to try and hold on to the temple. I'm just trying to spam as much of my quick snipe and my pinning shot now that I have several different skills based on that. We're taking the boss, and as you can see, I'm actually not using any of my skills. I am trying to conserve all of my attack skills because the cooldowns are kind of not exactly... They're quick, but they're not quick enough, especially if you want to keep sniping. And it's also one of those things of, like, you know, you just want to make sure that you are conserving all your energy for the main battle. Now, I run away from that team fight because I'm now looking for vision. Okay, so they're taking the NPCs and the camps. I decide to follow the main boss and just provide vision. There'll be a moment where Illidan actually finds out where I am. He gets vision on me. I drop a triple tap just to take him out, and before I die. You'll see that in just a second. But at the same time, I'm just providing vision, trying to show my team that they can keep going around getting camps, they can keep going around doing whatever they want because their entire team is busy with the boss. And some of them actually are still respawning. So this, our team is still going for the final camps. This will help us immensely. But we realize that, you know, they're still in defense positions. They're holding around their towers, their final towers.
Soon they shall bask in my glory.
Now the enemy Nova is actually doing another similar tactic, just holding temples. 15 seconds to go though. But at this point it's a little bit too late because Nazeebo is desperately trying to defend. And their tower is at 57%, and they have 2 sieges on their way, so it's not exactly going to be easy for Nazeebo. So that means they're already 1 player down. This is the really great thing I like about sieges is, you know, it just keeps at least 1 or 2 enemy players just busy, especially if you're trying to take take objectives, or you're trying to wait for respawns. So I've respawned very quickly, and there's not really much I can do. I'm just chasing after the next temple, and it's GG from here. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Blue team is victorious.